Hi, everybody. Welcome to our August 1st Fridays. Happy to have you guys here. I'm just going to go live on Instagram as well. I always feel very proud of myself for multitasking. Hi, Instagram. I have two separate screens up here. So if you see me looking over to the side, you'll know why. Hopefully the sound is okay. I know we're posting live to multiple platforms, to LinkedIn. So hi to everybody on LinkedIn. We have some clients I know that were asking about this. So hopefully this is helpful. We are going to the McEntee Law YouTube channel. So I'm hoping you can get that. Various Facebook groups and pages. Also on Instagram, I can see people jumping on. Hi, everybody. Welcome to First Fridays. Oh my gosh, it's August. The summer is flying by. In a way, though, it seems like it's Groundhog Day, because here we are yet again with, talking about the travel ban. And I know that a lot of people are asking questions in relation to the travel ban. Just one thing I want to say, that I don't think I can see the comments. We're streaming through StreamYard, so I can't see the comments from LinkedIn or YouTube or those types of channels. I can see the Instagram comments, but obviously just know that the first thing to know is that you're commenting in a public forum, so please don't put anything confidential there. Second thing, there's a big disclaimer on the other platform, not on Instagram, but I am an attorney, but I'm not anybody's attorney directly. I do have some clients here, but obviously this is not the forum to be getting individualized personal advice in relation to your situation. Immigration has always been very complicated, but adding a global pandemic, mass closures of various embassies and posts, all these reasons to say that you really need specific advice for your situation. We're happy to do that, but not in this type of forum. I can answer general questions about travel and kind of, what we're seeing, trends and that type of thing. But if you have a specific advice, you should book a consultation with us. You can get in touch with our firm, info@mcenteelaw.com. Very excited that we will be debuting a new online consultation system. I feel like it's taken a while to get to this point, because on the back end we have multiple attorneys, different practice areas, different consultation types. So it's taking a while to get that up and running. That will be there soon. So looking forward to debuting that. And yeah, just continuing to help people. We have some exciting news this month. We welcomed, or last month, I guess, just a few weeks ago, we welcomed 3 new team members. So we have 2 new attorneys that started with us and a new case manager. Elena and Natalia are the attorneys, and Claudia is our case manager. They're amazing. You will be seeing snippets of them on our social media. Katrina, our fantastic social media manager and marketing manager, has been helping me with so much. So you'll be seeing some of those, and we have like such an amazingly diverse team from all over, and I just can't wait to share some more of their background with you. And yeah, we're just really excited to have incredible team members who are from all over and who cared so deeply about this area of law as I do and as everybody else on our team does. So anyway, on to today. I just wanted to talk. There's just so much to talk about, but I guess we'll talk about the travel ban first, because that seems to be where the bulk of the questions are still coming from 16 months later. So as you know, the travel ban, the COVID-related travel ban, is still in place. I honestly get messages all day long about this, and I believe me when I say I feel your pain. So this is the regional COVID ban that relates to people. It's not nationality based. So it doesn't matter if you're Irish or you're from, France, or it's not based on on your nationality. It's based on where you have been before trying to enter the US. So in the 2 weeks preceding your attempted entry into the US, if you've been in one of those travel ban countries. And so I'm not gonna, that's the gist of the travel ban. There's some limited exceptions to the travel ban, mainly spouses, immediate relatives of US citizens, green card holders, that type of thing. There's a list of exemptions online on the State Department's website, and the presidential proclamations themselves, I believe, list them too. So you should always go directly to the source or to an attorney for specific advice about whether you are subjected to these travel bans. There's been various rumors about, are they getting lifted? Oh, then we heard maybe they were being lifted. We know that working groups have been established to safely look into travel. We've known that though since June, when Secretary Mayorkas confirmed that as a keynote speaker to our immigration lawyer conference. He confirmed that. So we know that. However, it's been crickets. We haven't really heard anything on that since. And so there's still, the status quo remains. We heard they were going to lift them, or they were discussing lifting them. Then this Delta surge and all that sort of stuff, and just the vaccination rate here with people just refusing to get the vaccine, which is obviously a topic for another day, which isn't crazy. But so basically the travel bans are still in place. And one thing I read this week that might be relevant to people is that if and when travel is reopened, as in these travel restrictions are lifted, the travel ban lifted, there is talk of limiting entry to vaccinated foreign nationals. So assuming, let's say, the travel ban goes away, regardless of where you're coming from, you're likely going to have to show proof of vaccination in order to get to the US. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Again, none of this has been confirmed. This is just stuff that I read this week, but I'm not surprised to hear that that's how things are going to go. I mean, we heard President Biden talk earlier. Was it earlier? It was last week, actually, about the kind of not mandates, but what they're doing to encourage federal employees in relation to vaccines and masking, regular testing for non-vaccinated people, limiting things that they can do. So I'm not surprised that they would be imposing an additional requirement for foreign nationals coming into the US. And it's kind of what we've been asking for in a way. Let's look to the science. Let's look to not just testing, but vaccinations, and see if we can safely reopen travel, because it's really not fair on what's been happening. Every week we're talking to someone who is here and is a visa holder, whose parents are sick, who's people have had to watch their own parents' funerals via Zoom because they're not going to be able to leave the US. Because if they went back to Ireland or wherever they're from, they would be subject to the travel ban. So, I mean, that's not right that people are in that situation. Earlier on this week, I did a podcast with this fantastic health law attorney, Erica Adler. So she had me on her podcast, and her audience is mainly physicians, and we were just talking about how, regardless of the job you're doing, obviously everybody's job is important and stuff, but we've had doctor clients who haven't been able to travel back because they are afraid that they won't be able to get their visa stamp and that type of thing. So it's not really right that people who are doing everything right and just they're stuck here. And so we're hoping that there will be some changes there, but I do not know when. That's the $1 million question that I keep getting asked. I promise you, the minute I know something, I will absolutely get on Instagram, get on everything. I will get my megaphone. I will be all over the place telling people. We don't have any insider info that you guys are not hearing. AILA, our bar association, has, as I've mentioned before, written a very detailed policy brief about how we can safely reopen America, what the Department of State can do, in recommendations that they can adopt to, or they can adopt these recommendations, including renewing visas via mail, maybe perhaps issuing visa stamps stateside. So all of these things would help. Obviously, eliminating the travel ban is certainly up there, and AILA has had meetings with the administration in relation to this. So AILA, the American Immigration Lawyers Association, I'm the media and advocacy chair for the National Association, 15,000 immigration lawyer members, all my colleagues, friends, we're all members of that. We're all working so hard, but I don't have any secret insider info. I promise you I will share whatever info I have. So that's just kind of an update on the travel ban. Hopefully that addresses some of the questions. So I guess one of the questions that I have now here is, again, this is not specific legal advice, general info. Someone's asking, when will Irish in the US be able to leave to get their visa stamp renewed? So this question is in kind of what I was touching on. There's people who are here, who are working, who are in status, but might not have an actual stamp from the State Department in their passport. So anytime you're here in the US and you're considering leaving, like, you really, really, really need specific legal advice. There's so many variables here in relation to your case that could be relevant. So you just should not even think about leaving unless you get specific legal advice. So I don't know when people are going to be able to get readily available visa stamp appointments. Also, the travel ban is relevant there. A lot of the embassies are backlogged, or, a lot of them, most of them really are backlogged. And plus there's a travel ban. I mean, having said that, we have had clients get some visa interviews. We have a client in the Middle East get one. We had a client in Dublin. We've been working with some clients there and just various embassies throughout the world. So it's not impossible. It depends on your case. It depends on what you're coming to do. It depends on whether you need a travel ban waiver or not. So it just depends. Somebody just asked if people are coming to the States via Mexico or elsewhere, can they get in? They don't have a valid ESTA or other entry visa. Well, you need something. You have to have some type of, that's the very first thing you say is, what are you trying to enter in on? Even in non-pandemic times, you have to have like either ESTA or some type of approved visa. That's the first thing. And I would say for that type of question, if somebody's going to go to the expense of going to Mexico, trying that whole plan, which in theory may be possible, they should just book a consultation for half an hour to figure out the logistics of this, is what I would recommend for them. But, you certainly need some form of entry documentation, and then you need to figure out the travel ban. So that's something that I would recommend that person get in touch with us, contact the firm. info@McEnteeLaw.com. So hopefully that is just a little bit of info, but yeah, you certainly need to have some type of documentation. Okay, and getting the thumbs up. So you heard me. Okay, I can see actually a comment here. Someone has asked a comment about the time frames on the USCIS web site, processing times, and whether they're accurate. This is also $1 million question. I mean, honestly, the USCIS doesn't even know how to interpret their processing times themselves. They were, as a stakeholder, they came to one of our conferences and they were trying to explain how those processing times are kind of tabulated, or how they figure them out. Because sometimes you can look at processing times, and I think it's immigration attorneys will understand this, but you can look at a range of processing times, and it can be like a week to like 24 months or something. Like, that can be the range. It can be that broad, and it's like, how is that helpful? I mean, it could be either be 1 week, or we'll be waiting 2 years, or like any time in between. So I think they tried to say that whatever the first range is like the fastest, and the last range is like, I don't know, some type of medium percentage. I don't know. I find that those processing times are not always helpful, really. And it's saying 7 to 10 months, I'm saying, for an I-130. So I'd say, is this an I-130 and an adjustment to 45, or is it just a standalone I-130? We've had them approved much faster than that, but it just depends. It depends on where the case was filed, which is dictated by where the petitioner is. And so there's just a lot involved in that. I mean, it's certainly, at least going to the website, we can see some processing times. I don't know that they will 100% be, or that they'll be even close to accurate. So that just depends on the type of case and how it was filed as well, electronic versus paper filing. So hopefully that is helpful. Someone's asking, are there longer USCIS processing times due to COVID? I mean, the USCIS processing times depends on the case type as well. Certain things have been longer, but we're able to premium process certain cases, and that is a congressionally mandated time frame for review. So for something like that, we know there's processing times that they have to adhere to with a premium processing case. With other cases, with O1s, we file a lot of O1s, as a lot of you guys probably know, the extraordinary ability visa. Most of ours are premium processed, just given the types of cases that we do. But I think COVID has impacted a lot of things. I don't know that it had a huge impact on O1 processing times. Generally, it's more the visa stamp appointment, which is the issue with COVID, versus the USCIS case part. So the O1 case is a two-part process. It's filing the petition here through the USCIS, which is the agency of the Department of Homeland Security, having them review and adjudicate that. And if that petition gets approved, taking that approval notice and going to a consulate abroad to get a visa stamp. So that's the real tricky part in terms of the timelines, is getting that visa stamp in your appointment and all, or in your passport, and also trying to navigate the travel ban if you happen to be in a travel ban country. So that's one other thing, is you have to prove eligibility for a national interest waiver, which we've been helping people with these. Dublin's really tough. The embassy in Dublin is extremely tough for the national interest waiver, exception waiver to the travel ban. That being said, we have gotten some approved. We're working with people on some of those, but so if you're subject to the travel ban, you may be able to get a national interest exception waiver that will enable you to travel directly from your travel ban country into the US if it gets approved. Other options would be maybe quarantining, going to a third country, a non-travel ban country. So potential options, but you just would have to really figure that out. Someone's asking, is there an alternative way to get a H-1B visa stamp since embassies aren't available? You want to be ready when the travel ban is lifted. So I'm not sure if this person's in the US or abroad. If you're in the US, I would be very reluctant to leave unless you absolutely have to, because you can get your status extended without getting the stamp in your passport. So I would just say you probably talk to your attorney for the H-1B. Presumably that was definitely filed by an attorney, so that he or she is probably the best person to advise on that. Also, AILA's been pushing for stateside issuance of visas and passports. It's not really a thing for most visas. I think diplomatic visas and certain limited visas are able to do that, but there is provision in the law to enable them to do that. So it's something that AILA's been asking for a bar association in the policy brief. Someone's asking, how long after you're submitting 10-year paperwork should you receive your 10-year card? I presume that's in relation to your green card, perhaps maybe removing the conditions, 751. Again, that just depends. I don't know if there's, off the top of my head, if there's different service centres or not. Those have been extremely backlogged. So if this is in relation to 751s, the processing time for those were, oh my gosh, they were well over a year for certain ones. I think they've gotten slightly faster, but they had gone up to about 18 months, which clearly is not acceptable. But that was something that we've seen. Someone's asking, can you travel on an EAD under the travel ban? So EAD is actually not a travel card. That's a work permit. It stands for Employment Authorization Document. Sometimes it also gets issued with the travel permit in it. I guess this is a great example of you really need to talk to somebody before you even consider leaving the US for something as important as leaving potentially on I don't know, maybe a pending green card. There's a lot going on in that question. Travel, having advanced parole alone may not exempt you from the travel bans. It depends on the basis of it. Are you married to a US? There's just a lot of analysis that would have to be done there. So I would just absolutely not advise you to leave unless you have this figured out. Okay, getting lots of questions actually on Instagram here. So hopefully that these are helpful to you. I did get some before, so I'm going to try and pull those up. Someone's asking about graduate visa. I don't know what's happening with the J1 graduate visa. I'm not sure. You'd be better off talking to that. So J1 visas are issued through a third-party agency. As someone mentioned, Use It Here, one of the Irish agency, but the centre in Boston was I think Reen Centre is their name now. They're fantastic. They were kind of one of the main sponsors of the J1 Irish Work and Travel intern visa, commonly known as the graduate visa. So I would talk to them to see. I don't know if the requirements will be adjusted to account for the people who missed out. I doubt it, but I don't know. Any news on J1? No news on J1 visas. Unfortunately, and there is a priority in terms of appointments. So someone's asking, can you get your visa originally granted in Dublin embassy extended without leaving the US? So at the moment, visas generally, it depends on your visa, but for most regular type visas, like non-diplomatic visas, you're not able to get a visa stamp in your passport stateside. That requires a visit to an embassy or a consulate abroad. That is one of the things that we're requesting in our AILA policy brief. We've been asking all parts of the administration to try to change that, because we believe there is provision in the law that would enable them to do that. Because in the past, I think back in maybe the early 2000s, they used to do that. So at the moment, that it's not, again, it depends on the type of visa, but assuming it's a one, like a common business visa or that type of thing, generally most visas, stamps in the passport have to be issued by the Department of State abroad. So now that's different to status. Your visa stamp is different to your status. This is like a huge, I think, thing that I want to point out is anybody who's in the US on a visa stamp, on a visa, any type of visa, always needs to check their I-94 on re-entering the US. So if you Google I-94, it'll bring you up to a CBP website. I'll pull it up here so we can see it. So it's, I think it's just i94.cbp.dhs.gov. So it's a government website. You enter in your information and you can pull up your own I-94. This is super, super important. I cannot, if there's anything you take away from this conversation, it's to, if you're in the US on a visa, check your I-94. So your visa stamp in your passport controls how long you can enter, when you can use that to enter the US, right? So that permits you to enter the US, but your status, how long you can stay here, is dictated by your I-94. You need to check that, and you need to see when you were admitted, what your classification, so what your visa type, your status type, and then how long you're admitted for. We have seen people inadvertently, mistakenly overstay their I-94s where their passport was expiring and they were admitted for a shorter time. So it's really, really important. So I would say anybody who's listening today, if there's one big takeaway you can, if you're in the US on a visa, please check your I-94 through the I-94 CBP website. You just need your passport information and you can pull it from there and make sure that you know how long you've been admitted to the US for. And if for some reason you have stayed over it, you need to get in touch with somebody immediately in relation to that. Okay, let me go through some of these additional questions. Hope everybody's had a good week. Can't believe how fast summer is going. Somebody's asking, applied for an EB1C green card or in March. That process takes a while and they can't be premium processed. So I'm not sure offhand what the processing times are like, but I'd say a minimum of 12 months probably for that. Someone's asking, and an L2 applied for an EAD card in June. Again, don't know exactly what the processing times are like, but probably 4 to 6 months. So, okay, there are some of those questions. There's a lot of other stuff going on about any plans to improve EAD processing times. There's loads of lawsuits. There was a lawsuit that resulted in removing the biometrics requirements for certain dependent processing time. So there's some stuff. I mean, as far as EAD processing times, USCIS, we have been banging down their door for years about this. There's like hashtag USCIS accountability, and you can see all those threads on AILA. We've asked for congressional oversight. There is a bill that should be implemented that should allow for premium processing of EADs. So that has not yet been implemented. It should be. So that's another thing. But otherwise, there's a lot of other stuff happening. I don't know that I'll be able to get into everything, but there is there's a new LIKE Act, which is Startup Visa Act, which is so exciting. I wrote a blog post for AILA on that, that this is like unbelievably exciting. It's the W1. It will be, hopefully, if it passed, it will be a W1 visa for the founders of startups. It's introduced by Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren of California, who's been a long champion of immigration options for startups. There was a congressional hearing a few weeks ago. I submitted a statement that became part of the congressional record in relation to that. There's a list of the requirements in on this Think Immigration blog that I'll share, but it basically is for startup founders who have at least 10% ownership in a newly created startup in the previous 5 years, that where the entity, the startup, has received 250,000 in qualified investors, so venture capital, accelerators, those types of things, or 100,000 from government grants. Hi to everybody who's just jumping on now. And for those who play a central and active role. So, it allows the spouse of the startup founder to apply for a work permit. Children can come and accompany them as well. And there's there's like a W-2 for the employees, which is very exciting for skilled, essential kind of personnel of the startup. And but really excitingly is that there's a potential green card option from this, which would be phenomenal. They can self-petition for a green card, assuming certain things are met. And I just think this would be an incredible option. I mean, it's crazy that we do not have already a startup option for a startup visa. And the requirements in this, so again, this is a proposed bill. Yep, been having a lot of advocacy surrounding this, and I can share our blog post and other things that I've written on this so you can see the requirements there. So a lot of work to be done to get to this point, but it kind of mirrors the International Entrepreneur Parole Program, which is like a new program as well. That's not perfect. There's some issues with that in terms of logistics because of, you know, certain requirements, but that's something that we're working on too. And we had a meeting there this morning, so there's some kind of exciting and advocacy. Just loving, it's amazing seeing people from all different groups come together to really want to work to support immigrant startups in the US. Because ultimately, this is not, it's not just for the startup founder. I mean, these people are creating or would create jobs in the US for US citizens. It makes economic sense. It's a no-brainer. And like so many other countries have a startup visa, and we're missing out. We've been missing out, and we're only going to continue to miss out. But like coming out of the pandemic, you know, we absolutely need to think about innovation and immigrants and encouraging all that. And I couldn't think of a better way than the startup visa. Also, we desperately need immigration reform. As you know, there was a court case, as probably some of you know, that put a pause on new DACA applications based on this court in Texas, which is just horrendous considering, you know, the Supreme Court decision. And so that's something that we're working through. I know the Biden administration said they were going to appeal it, but ultimately Congress needs to get some reform passed, ideally on a comprehensive level, so that everybody would be included, all undocumented immigrants. I've heard from some trusted sources that it's going to be, there will be some reform included as part of a reconciliation package through Congress for Dreamers, potentially TDS, foreign workers, though that type of undocumented immigrants, so not everybody. Which obviously is disappointing that not everybody can be included. But at the moment, I mean, we have to just push for something. Kind of torn on that, and I know a lot of other advocates are as well. Since I moved to the US in early 2000s, I have been going to immigration rallies and protests and marches and doing advocacy and reform. And it's quite emotional to think that we might actually be close to getting some type of relief for people, and that would be just life-changing for people who haven't been able to go back to visit like family, who, you know, just I think I just think it would be incredible. And so we're going to continue to put the pressure on Congress. If this is something that you care about, you can take action as well. Another thing that we did was this week, McEntee Law, our firm wrote an immigrant first language guide about terms that we know are offensive and that we would recommend correcting when you hear. And I think that I'm assuming that some people are coming from a good place and they're not trying to be offensive, but I've heard the word assimilation has been used on multiple occasions recently, where people have asked me about immigrants assimilating into the US culture, that type of thing. And I don't think that the people who asked those questions realized why it's offensive. And that's offensive because it assumes that the US has one type of culture that immigrants don't fit into. But we drafted a whole guide on why this is offensive and kind of what you can do if you hear that language. I feel like we have a responsibility to let people know why words matter and why certain words are hurtful. And, you know, I think that's we just have a duty and a responsibility to let people know and to advocate for people who need us. And you know, you can see other terms like the word alien. I mean, gosh, thank God that term is going to be removed from any of the immigration acts and laws, because, you know, referring to people as aliens is just, you know, awful. And we as part of AILA's Chicago chapter, well, the National Bar Association does a 5th grade essay contest where we ask 5th graders to submit an essay on different types of immigration. And I got to be one of the judges this year, and our winner from Chicago won the whole contest, and it was amazing, and it was just very heartwarming. But she somebody, not the winner of the contest, but somebody from one of the other essays, I think maybe one of the other winners, not the maybe like second or third place, her letter was, or her poem story was basically talking about how we come from different countries, we are not coming from a different planet. So I just thought that was important. So somebody's thinking oh, they've never heard an Irish lawyer accent before. Yes, there are a few Irish lawyers here in the US, but we have clients from all over. We do have a lot of Irish clients, but from everywhere. So somebody has asked as well about whether you can get your I-94 extended. So this is something the person would really need to have to talk to an attorney about. It depends on whether you've overstayed, or is it going to be a timely extension. If you've overstayed inadvertently, you may be able to file what's known as a nunc pro tunc, which is a brief requesting the USCIS to extend your status, even though you may have inadvertently overstayed. It's complicated. There's a lot involved in that, so people would definitely need to talk to an attorney about that. But the first thing you should do, everybody should just check their I-94 to make sure that they're in status. You can check it online. I mentioned the CBP. It's i94.cbp.dhs.gov, and you can go from there. Put in get my recent I-94, put in your passport, and get that. So let me see if I have any other questions. I think that might be it. There's just a lot has happened in immigration. There's a lot going on. The travel ban, like no changes there. There is the new Act, the Startup Visa Act, that we'll be doing a lot of advocacy around. There is obviously Dreamers, DACA, just different things in relation to pieces of reform legislation, congressional action. So just a lot. So we're as busy as ever. We have some great new team members. We're super excited. We had a great week here in the office. And just loving having everybody here. We've been able to work with some amazing clients, and yeah, so we're just excited to continue to do this work. You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. People saying thank you. No, it's been quite the year and a half. It's been tough for everybody, I think, dealing with all these travel bans. It gives you a tiny bit of an idea of what undocumented people have been going through, not being able to travel and see family. And it's just, I think it's food for thought, and I think we just need to just appreciate what we have, use our voices to advocate for others, and we're here to help, and we're happy to do consultations, see what way we can help people, and hopefully excited about some of these new options, hopefully some reform for badly needed immigration reform, and maybe some of these new startup visas. So lots to say, but anyway, I'm going to sign off. Hopefully this was helpful. Again, it's not specific legal advice. If there's any takeaways from this, it's just the importance of really talking to somebody about travel, I-94s, status, visa stamps, appointments, those types of things. And yeah, hopefully this was helpful. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and that you all continue to stay safe, get vaccinated, wear your masks. I have 2 kids at home, so they're too young to get vaccinated, and so I just really hope that I can keep them safe and while they can get vaccinated. So just thinking of them and appreciate everybody's support. So I'm going to sign off, but I guess I will see you in another month, maybe. Oh, I think that will be Labor Day weekend. Maybe we will, I don't know if we'll still do it on the Friday, but either way, we'll be in touch, and we'll be doing some more social media in the interim as well. So stay safe, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and take care.